All right. So the motivation or the inspiration for this was in Stripe, where they showed the cohort analysis of new customers and how long they retained.
Okay.
So uh, when you start out, you just I'm saying, let's imagine a scenario. This is it's going to over these tabs build out what you see over the first 6 months of the year, and let's imagine a scenario where you're getting 10 new leads a month, and of those 10 leads in January, you were able to close 100,000 in revenue.
Okay.
So your revenue is 100,000. We'll start using cumulative in a minute, and we'll talk about the cumulative leads in a minute. But clearly our revenue per lead at this point is $10,000.
Right.
All right, and basically we walk you through a few pages. So yes, then let's say those same 10 leads, now something took a little bit longer, so you closed another 50,000 from those original 10 leads in January, in February.
So before you go any further, I would love to do it this way, but no HVAC company is going to be this organized. They're just going to slide those leads into the next month. And in fact, what they're doing right
But
now is double counting them as leads in both months.
right, but we have the data of when the client was created and when the sale was closed. So we have the
Oh,
data. We can do it this way. We can get them thinking this way.
right.
So
And
let me,
they could still use their old way
yeah,
because at the bottom
exactly.
it shows them the
I'm
way
still
that
gonna
they
show
used to think about it.
it
This is
exactly.
all
So
February.
right, and so I'll show you. It'll show up on the right here in a minute too. But yeah, exactly. So 150K shows up in February. Well, I got 150K in revenue, and then it's like, well, how many leads did that come from? Well, it came from 20, right? So now you're at 120, 12,500 per lead, right?
Okay.
That continues in March. Let's say, right, those January leads, now you right, those couple one trickler came in, you got another 20K, right?
Right,
So now you're
right,
up to
right.
14K. But this is going to be your steady state. And so then steady state, steady state, steady state. So that now I'm going to make a couple modifications. There's a couple things I don't like about it, but assuming this is steady state, this kind of asymptotically approaches, what is true, which is you end up with what is it, 17,000 per lead. It just takes a while to get there because you're just slowly getting there. So instead, what if we say, let's just talk about recent leads, and so maybe we only do for 3 months, and that way only leads for the I only start my I'm only looking the last 3 months of leads. So by the time I'm out here in June, I'm looking at the last 3 months of leads. Basically, I wanted to be able to show that I'm actually getting to 17,000 without having to asymptotically approach it as I slowly build up it, however long. Because and second thing is, I don't know if they care, right? If it takes more than 3 months to get revenue out of a lead, they probably don't care anyway. It's like it took too long.
Right.
So then I said, well, wait,
Well,
maybe,
there's
right?
still a few of them. Like even for Austin, he's getting like
Yeah, this
one
is this
one job from last year a
right.
month,
That's this
maybe.
scenario. So let's say like $10,000 shows up in May from that January leads, right? And so now it actually increases, but it's like I don't think people want to count it. So I'm thinking we probably grade those out. It'd be nice to know, right? Yeah, you did get 180,000 out of those 10 leads. But I'm only going to take the last 3 months of leads and the last 3 months of revenue in order to get that. That gets me to 17,000. Anyway, I think, was that my last scenario? Nope, I had one more, which was, should we always start in January, or should we always basically, if somebody starts in March, do they have a lot of blank on the page, or should they always start in the upper left corner? I think I'd like to always start in the left corner. So I think I'll probably just be an always at trailing 12 months. Anyway, so this was a concept. What do you think?
I like all of it.
Okay, we just have
I
to
like
decide
all of it.
on some of the fine tuning, because there were a couple things like, yeah, should we let you pick how many months? Probably. And then, to show that, I want to show that, yeah, you did get 10,000. It did come from that
I
January
love
lead,
showing
but
that.
I don't, but it doesn't help your metrics because it took too long. So your metrics are still only based on the most recent N months where the manager or whoever got to pick what N is. And that's the range of leads and the range of revenue that applies.
Well, so in this, I would still count the 10,000 as revenue. Salesperson's going
But
to want that revenue if it's sold in that month.
if they're being
Oh,
comped on revenue,
I didn't
yes.
see the, okay. So on the right, there's
So
a whole other calculus.
there is, right? Because yes, I do want to count the right. Yeah, I want to recognize that it happened, so I want to add it up somewhere. So if that's what they're getting paid on somehow, that's fine.
That's
But
what
for a
they're getting paid
business,
on, and that's what they're
it's
getting
like it took
incentivized
too
on.
long, right? It's for as far as the business is concerned, right? It's like, I want to give you 3 months to close it, and that's what I'm going to chart. That's what I'm going to calculate revenue per lead on, is what revenue within 3 months per lead or something like that, right? Where the you can pick the months, you can pick the N, whether it's 3 or 6 or 1, right? But um,
Right. I think right now what they're doing is 1 month. Like it's this month.
yeah, which is tough, right? You get a lead on the 25th, you're never going to close a deal, right? So
No, no. And then what they're doing is Ronnie and Austin now are keeping track because they realize that they've been punished
right,
for a long time
right,
for this stuff.
right.
And they're like, hey, this is like if they get a bad lead, they're getting a hold of their manager right away and being like, yeah, that wasn't a sales lead. They
Right.
wanted to duct
So
cleaning or something like that, you know.
right. So I'll call it like a lag period. And so what they're doing is their management is setting it to 0, which means if you don't close it this month, I don't count it. I'm giving you 0 months of lag on a lead. And then what I did here is I gave people 2 months of lag on a lead, which means you get the current month plus you get the prior 2 months count
Okay.
as revenue. And those are the leads I'm going to count. I mean, right. We should be
So
fair.
really what we should ask
And
is how many months lag do you want on leads?
yeah. Yep. And I can make that configurable, right? So we can
Okay.
default it to something like 3 months. And if wants to change it to 0, they can change it to 0, right?
Right.
But
Right, but then they're going to have a whole lot more reconciliation.
but
Every month they're going to have to reconcile.
yeah, but we're still showing
That's
it,
fine.
right? So it'll show, like in this case, right? We set it to 2, so you get the month plus you get 2 months of lag, and we'll be showing, you're not really crediting someone for this $10,000 because it's grayed out. I mean, it does show up somewhere, so yes, you can, right? You still know the totals,
Yeah,
but
he's going to
right,
get paid for it, but he's not going to get bonused on it.
right, exactly. And so at least this way we're making it explicit about what they're leaving out. And so they can decide where they want to set, right? It's like, yeah, maybe, all right, so you're right. Maybe I should add 2 to this, right? In which case it would count it, or they decide, no, I don't care. Once it's 3 months old, I don't care.
Should I share this with the guys so that they can start thinking about it?
If you want, sure, I can send you this.
No, just the video.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. This is very cool. It feels like we're going very quickly, Eric.
I think, well, basically right, we said with the reordering we're done with 1.0, and I'm gonna consider adding those text boxes, essentially the first iteration of 1.1. And I want to
Okay.
get this report out, right? I think the next thing is putting something like this in the account tab, so when you're right, basically your profile, you get to see these statistics for you. That we can start to show, because each one of these cells is just data from the database. I know from all the client creation what month the client was created, and I know from the sold jobs how much revenue there was for each, right, in sold in each month. And so I can calculate each of these cells. I don't think we have very good data yet, but by starting to show this report and starting to show these
That
cells,
then
some
we'll
of which will
start
end up
getting
being
data.
empty, we'll start getting the data, and then we'll be able to start seeing the trends, right? And this will also give you the trend, because you can say, all right, well, so somebody new that starts with our software, what was their revenue per lead before? Oh, well, their revenue per lead was about $5,000. Great. Okay. 1 month in, they're at 10,000. 2 months in, they're at 12.5. 3 months in, they're at 14, right? Or whatever the numbers actually work out to be.
Right.
Now we'll have a place where we can actually see what they're doing.
Right.
And I'll probably make this a 12 by 12 or 13 by 13 box. So you can always, I'm thinking of the case where in January, they're likely to want to be able to see January through December of last year. So it'll probably end up being a 13-month box just to let you see all that. Maybe it'll just be a 6-month box just because that's big enough, and we'll see what people say.
Okay.